In today's video, we're going to look at 4 of the most common archetypes of female self-destruction, starting with the first archetype, the woman addicted to male validation. And no one represents this better than Emily Ratajkowski. Emily has a deep need for male validation and has convinced herself that sexualizing herself is inspiring. She grew up with wealthy, well-connected parents and had opportunities that most girls could only dream of. And what did she choose to do with all that privilege and opportunity? Post naked photos online. Her modeling career was basically handed to her through the connections and access she already had through her parents. She was already beautiful, already came from a high-profile family, and was already surrounded by influential people. But still, this was not enough, because despite having all the resources and opportunities in the world, she chose to become a yacht girl, which, if you don't know what that is essentially a watered-down version of an escort. Men paying women to spend time with them in exchange for money. And why? Why would a woman who already had beauty, money, status, and a successful career still feel the need to sell herself to men? The answer is simple, because male validation is never enough for women like this. No matter how beautiful they are, no matter how successful they become, no matter how much attention they receive, they are still deeply dependent on men's approval. Women like Emily are so exhausting because they insist that sexualizing themselves is empowering while also complaining that men objectify them. Emily in particular presents herself as someone who openly hates men.
I relate to that and like being a hustler and whatever, but it kind of fucked me up. Like it traumatized me, and I feel like you don't have that as much. Like with your interactions with men in the past that you've like, you know, had transactional relationships with, that you've come out on top. And like obviously I can see that you have like you hate men, which like retweet.
Yeah. Everything we do is a response to sort of like the patriarchy, essentially. So even deciding to cover your body and to present yourself a certain way is still responding to men. So like, when are we going to be free? Basically.
I know. She uses her platform to talk about feminism, objectification, and the ways women are reduced to their bodies because of male desire, all the while claiming she has decentered men from her life. But these two things cannot coexist. She says she has removed men from the center of her world, yet her entire public image is still built around attracting male attention. She presents herself in a highly sexualized way, knowing it will draw desire from millions of men, and then complains when men respond exactly as expected. If your whole identity depends on being desired by men, then men are still at the center of your life. Women like Emily who are obsessed with male validation are the same women who also hate men the most. And the reason they have so much hatred towards men is because the only side of men they experience is the side of men that is motivated by lust and sexual desire. Women who put their sex appeal on public display for everyone are not experiencing men in a normal, healthy way. They are experiencing men through men's most selfish instincts. When you present yourself in a highly sexualized way, you bring out the most lustful, primitive, and disrespectful side of men, because you are tapping into one of their most animalistic instincts, where they view you as a means for sexual relief rather than as a person. So when you are a woman who leads with sex appeal, the way you experience men will naturally make you resent them, because you are repeatedly exposing yourself to the darkest and most predatory sides of male nature. Of course that leads to bitterness, of course that leads to resentment, and of course that makes healthy relationships nearly impossible. No woman wants to feel reduced to her body, but when your sexuality is the main thing you use to attract attention, that is the kind of attention you're going to receive. And this is not just a woman issue, it is simply human nature. It is the same when men lead with money or status in order to attract women. Those men will also grow to resent women, because they end up only experiencing women through the most materialistic and greedy side of female nature. Women who are mainly interested in them for their money and status rather than who they are as people. No woman wants to feel valued only for her body, just as no man wants to feel valued only for his money. But when you present yourself in a way that appeals to the most selfish desires of human nature, like women presenting themselves as sexual temptation and men presenting themselves through money and status, you will attract the kinds of people who want to use you for those exact things. This is why women like Emily Ratajkowski are so bitter towards men, because no matter how much they claim to have decentered them from their lives, they still want male attention, they still care deeply about what men think of them, and they still rely on men's desire to feel valuable. The only difference is that instead of seeking men's love and approval in a positive way, they seek it in a way that leaves them feeling objectified, used, and reduced to their bodies, which eventually causes them to hate and resent men. This is the tragedy of this archetype of woman. These women desperately seek male validation, but the more they receive it, the more bitter and delusioned they become. And until they understand that sexualizing themselves is not empowering, but degrading and a sign of lacking self-respect, women like this will continue attracting the same experiences that reinforce their resentment towards men.